Now, divers are searching for what could be a murder weapon in a Gold Coast dam following the death of a bikie at a nearby park.
Two men go for a drink. One ends up dead in a crashed Mercedes. The other found face down in the bush with a bullet in his head. And I've been trying to connect those dots ever since. It was a regular Friday night in Pimpama. Laid back, forgettable. Shane Ross and Cameron Martin walked out of the tavern just after 7 p.m. No signs of tension, no rushed exits. They left with two other men, all heading in the same direction. What happened next still doesn't make sense. By 9:30 p.m., Cameron would be dead, slouched in the driver's seat of his white Mercedes, its front end crushed against a tree along Talabudgera Creek Road. At first, responders assumed it was a road accident. But when they opened the door and saw the small entry wound in his chest, the entire narrative changed. Then, for 3 days, silence. No sign of Shane. His phone, his car, his body, all vanished. Until a bushwalker spotted something in the scrub. About 1.5 kilometers from the crash. It was Shane, face down, a single gunshot to the head. There were no signs of struggle, no blood trail, just two dead men, executed hours apart in a quiet corner of the Gold Coast. And no one has ever been convicted. The case files are stacked with inconsistencies, surveillance gaps, contradictory timelines. But one thing is constant, between the tavern exit and the final gunshot. There's a stretch of time no one's been able to explain, a narrow window where everything unraveled. Some call it a botched drug deal, others think it was revenge. But when you start pulling on the threads, who they were, who they knew, and who they may have crossed, the picture gets bigger and much harder to walk away from. To understand what happened, you've got to understand who it happened to. Shane Ross wasn't just a businessman. He was 36, a father of 3, and the public face of Monster Clothing, a streetwear label built on an image of power and edge. But beneath that brand was a man with history, deep history. He had once been patched into the Lone Wolf Outlaw motorcycle gang, a name that means something different in southeast Queensland than it does anywhere else. Later, he switched allegiances to the Comancheros. That move alone, it would have made him enemies in the Gold Coast bikie world. Switching clubs isn't just disloyal, it's dangerous. It's a declaration. He'd served prison time in 2011 for drug offenses. In 2019, he was convicted of participating in a $4.5 million luxury car loan fraud. He dodged jail that time, but his name was already on people's radars. Police, rivals, former allies. And then there was the brain tumor, a life-threatening diagnosis in 2018. He survived the surgery, but after that, something about the way he moved changed. He lived faster, took more risks, spent big. Some said he was reckless, others said he was scared, and always by his side, Cameron Martin. Cameron was 47, no known criminal record, no bikie affiliations, just a guy who ran a business with Shane. On paper, he was clean. That made what happened to him harder to explain, and harder to accept. His mother, Louise, had always been uneasy about Shane. She thought her son was getting dragged into something he didn't fully understand. She may have been right. What we do know is this: the two men were close, not just colleagues, but friends. They drank together, worked together, spent time outside of business. But how deep Cameron was in, we still don't know, and maybe he didn't either. Some people believe Cameron was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Others think he knew more than he let on. But what we can say for certain is that he died first. And that still raises the same question. Why? The timeline is tight. Less than 3 hours from start to finish. 7 p.m., Shane and Cameron are seen leaving the Pimpama Tavern with 2 other men. No one looked agitated, no raised voices. Just 4 men walking calmly to a vehicle, not Cameron's Mercedes, a different, unidentified car. 8:18 p.m., a white BMW X5 pulls a slow U-turn near Martin Shields Park, It's caught on CCTV from a nearby business. The plates are fake. The car parks for a while. No one gets out. 9:30 p.m. A passerby finds Cameron's white Mercedes crashed into a tree on Talabudgera Creek Road. He's in the driver's seat, dead. But not from the crash, from a single, focused bullet wound to the chest. It's only after this that police realize something far more calculated has happened. And then comes the silence. No Shane, no phone signal, nothing. 3 days pass. October 21st, a body is found in bushland, just 1.5 kilometers from where Cameron's car was discovered. It's Shane Ross, face down, bullet to the head, 9mm casings nearby. There's no sign of a struggle, no blood trail leading in. It doesn't look like he ran. It looks like he was led there. The BMW, gone, no trace. Police believe that Shane and Cameron were either taken to the park or lured there. Whatever happened inside that vehicle, or that park, set everything in motion. Here's the chilling part. There's no footage showing the murder, no weapon recovered, no witness willing to come forward. We're left with a gap, roughly 2 hours long, where everything happened and nothing can be proven. At first, it looked like a tragic accident. Cameron's car had hit a tree. There were no skid marks, no broken glass on the road. But then they saw the wound, and everything shifted. When Shane's body turned up 3 days later, police launched Operation Romeo Mask, treating the case as a targeted double homicide. The area around Martin Shields Park became the focus. Detectives cordoned it off. Forensic tents went up. Divers were sent into Talabudgera Creek, hoping to find the murder weapon, or at least a clue. What they pulled up was strange. An old rusted safe, discarded fishing gear, phones sealed in plastic, even a couple of rotting firearms. But nothing linked directly to the murders. Not the BMW. Not a murder weapon. Not even a single usable print. I visited that area myself. It's dense, quiet. If someone wanted to disappear, or make someone else disappear, it's the perfect place. Locals were no help either. Some claimed they heard an engine revving that night. Others remembered seeing a vehicle circling the park, but nothing concrete. No one came forward with a license plate. No one claimed to have seen faces. From the beginning, this case wasn't loud. It was quiet. Too quiet. Whoever did this didn't panic. They didn't run. They finished what they started, and they vanished. In the weeks that followed, the case became something else entirely. It wasn't just about two dead men. It became about what and who they were connected to. Police started quietly linking the white BMW seen near the park to members of the Lone Wolf outlaw motorcycle gang. According to internal intel, the car had been circulating between club members in the weeks before the murders. Surveillance footage, burner phones, and even mobile tower pings painted a loose picture. But it wasn't solid. Not enough for charges. Then came a strange lead. A witness claimed to have seen a shirtless man stumbling near the crime scene later that same night. Injured, dazed, possibly involved. He was never identified. The trail vanished, just like he did. But police weren't done. On March 13, 2020, 5 months after the murders, over 200 officers raided properties across Queensland and New South Wales. It was one of the largest coordinated bikie crackdowns in years. 22 search warrants executed in a single day. The haul, firearms, drugs, tens of thousands in cash, and dozens of phones. Many encrypted, many wiped. But what they didn't find was just as important. No BMW, no murder weapon, no direct evidence tying anyone to the deaths. Still, they moved forward. On March 19th, police arrested Brody Singh, national president of the Lone Wolf Gang, and Nathan Miller, a known associate. Both were charged with 2 counts of murder. 2 months later, Singh's partner, Gabrielle Garner, was charged with perjury. Police believed she lied to protect someone close to the crime. And in February 2021, they got their third man, Gary James Brush, arrested and extradited from New South Wales. He had attended Shane Ross's funeral, hugged the family, said his goodbyes. If he knew something about how Shane died, he didn't show it. At that point, police had their suspects. They had gang connections, encrypted devices, and motives tied to debt and betrayal. But what they didn't have was the one thing that mattered most in court: proof. The committal hearing took place in January 2022 at Southport Magistrates Court. Families were hopeful. The case had momentum. But that feeling didn't last. The defense came armed. They claimed that police had misrepresented evidence in affidavits, overstating links between the accused and the timeline. They challenged metadata, questioned surveillance angles, and tore into the mobile tower records used to trace movement. Then a witness took the stand, Joshua Munn, a close friend of Shane Ross. He testified under oath that Shane believed there was a $500,000 bounty on his head, that he'd received threats, that in the weeks before his murder, Shane had started acting paranoid, meeting with unfamiliar people, changing his routines. That should have been a turning point. But it wasn't. Because everything the prosecution built, the entire frame of the case, rested on circumstantial evidence. And the judge saw through it. No DNA, no fingerprints, no murder weapon, no conclusive footage. Even the encrypted phones, the judge ruled that secure communication wasn't criminal behavior without context. He dismissed the charges, all of them. Brody Singh, Nathan Miller, Gary Brush. They walked, not because they were found innocent, but because the case, as it was presented, wasn't strong enough to survive trial. For Shane and Cameron's families, it was like losing them a second time. Everything they'd held on to, all the hopes that answers were coming, collapsed in that moment. March 2022. Magistrate Bernard McInnes officially discharged the accused, stating the evidence was too weak to move forward. But that ruling didn't just end a trial. It opened another kind of investigation. The case was referred to Queensland's Crime and Corruption Commission. The focus shifted from the suspects to the officers who led the case. Specifically, the Queensland Police Ethical Standards Command began looking into whether detectives had cut corners, omitted context, or intentionally misled the court in their affidavits. This wasn't about catching killers anymore. This was about internal damage control. The people tasked with solving the case were now being investigated themselves. And just like that, the case disappeared from headlines. No more raids, no press conferences, no new arrests. For the public, it faded, but for the families, nothing faded. They still live with the same hole, the same questions, the same ache. September 2022. The Director of Public Prosecutions issued a final statement. No further charges will be laid. No trial, no accountability, just a press release and silence. Shane's wife, Alexandra, told reporters she was beyond shattered. She said she didn't know how to explain it to their daughters. 3 girls, growing up without a father and no justice to hold on to. Cameron's mother, Louise, never stopped fighting. She still believes her son was caught in something he didn't choose, that he was collateral damage in a world he didn't belong to. There's no active task force anymore. The case is considered cold, but people talk, not loudly, quietly, the way people do when fear still lingers. They say the names involved carry weight, that what happened wasn't random, that this wasn't about 2 men dying, but about something bigger being kept quiet. And when you live in that world, silence isn't avoidance, it's survival. This case was never just about 2 men dying. It was about everything that came after. About how silence can bury a case deeper than any grave. About how justice depends on the strength of the system built to deliver it. Shane Ross and Cameron Martin were taken out with precision, and nobody, not one person, has ever paid for it. That should unsettle you. Because if a double execution on the Gold Coast can vanish into paperwork and silence, what else has? If this story raised more questions than answers, you're not alone. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.